Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. Very good morning, Daud. Very good morning, Joann, and of course, very good morning, Pak Taswin. As we all know, that Islamic finance has been in the industry for decades, but yet we are still struggling to get into the mainstream. Each one of you gonna have 5 to 7 minutes to explain why that happened and what we should do. Okay? And of course, 5 to 7 minutes is very short. So just crush the nutshell. Daud is one of the icons in this field. Time is yours.
Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for the kind introduction, Pakedi. 5 to 7 minutes is long, so I'll try to be concise. And I'm going to try and answer 3 questions. Firstly, why do Islamic financial institutions need to break into the mainstream? And let me tackle that one first. It isn't just an issue of scale, but it's an issue of getting our values across. So often in my near 30-year career in Islamic finance, I've been asked the question, do I have to be a Muslim to participate in this? And the answer, of course, is no, I don't have to be. But very often we get asked those questions because people want to avoid it. And I think we have an opportunity here in the current crisis and going forward to actually explain our value proposition, and that our values are not entirely different from the other Abrahamic faiths or indeed other religions. It's just that we've actually executed them in a particular way, and we have tended in the past to confuse people by using a lot of Arabic terminology and not explaining what exactly is happening. So my answer to that first question is, why do we need to break into it? It is not just about scale, it is about being relevant, it's about creating trust, and it's about creating impact. The second question I'd like to tackle is the key implementation strategies to achieve it. And this is sort of an instant strategy. But there are 2 things that have worked in my career, and I'll give you the acronyms for them. One is EPL theory. And EPL stands for education, perception, and liquidity. Education is absolutely vital to help people to understand what the value proposition is. That education changes perception. I remember many years ago being at a conference in the United States, and there was a lot of discussion about Islamic finance, and this was at a university, a very famous university in the US. And I reminded them that the endowment fund that they had at their university was actually based on English common law. And the first example of an endowment setting up a university was the year 1264 in Oxford University, UK, Merton College, Oxford. And if you look at the trust deed, it's actually an exact copy of a waqf, an Islamic trust. So in effect, every major university in the world is funded on the basis of waqf. And that is something where education changes perception, the P. Liquidity is the L. You don't have viable businesses unless you create liquidity. And I think Islamic finance has suffered for many years by having insufficient liquidity in global markets. The second acronym I want to use here is stars. And I've used this very effectively for now 20 years when going into countries and trying to adapt systems to Islamic finance. And stars are the first letters of the words in English of sharia and legal. T is tax, A is accounting, R is regulatory, and S are standards. And every country has different legal and sharia infrastructure. It may be broadly similar, but there are vast differences. A question I've been frequently asked over the years, and I'm based in Malaysia and have been operational in Malaysia for 2 decades. Malaysia has a legal system which is based on English common law, which is extremely flexible. And that has really permitted Malaysia to adapt the legal framework to a Sharia framework, which has permitted very easily Islamic finance to grow and develop. If you contrast that with Indonesia, which for many years wanted to do this, the legal system in Indonesia is based on Dutch civil code, which is inflexible. And that has been a challenge. So that gives an example of how the Sharia and legal framework is absolutely vital. You need to understand that, and it differs from country to country. Tax regimes differ from country to country. One of the first things the UK had to do was to level the playing field by actually creating a law to say, in actual fact, we won't apply stamp duty on an Islamic mortgage twice. Because there was a purchase and a sale, stamp duty under the legal system and under the tax system would be applied twice. The Bank of England had to intervene to create a level playing field. The accounting system needs to reflect some of the nuances of how Islamic finance operates. And the regulatory system, particularly in liquidity, needs to be identified, and the standards, particularly around education and around not just the legal systems, but documentation. So you need to understand the as-is situation in order to get to a new situation. And you can't just implement a successful system, and Malaysia has been pretty successful. That won't work everywhere else. Elements of it will, but you need to identify what your current as-is position is. The third question is, in many countries, strategies have succeeded better than others. And if I can cite a couple of examples in Europe, in the UK and Luxembourg, they've been really quite successful in Islamic finance, but it's been focused on the market. In the market in London, it's a capital market, and the UK had to play in that capital market. Otherwise, it would be ridiculous for the UK not to be involved in Islamic finance because it wouldn't have leadership in its capital market. Luxembourg is another example where it's a trading market, largely based on assets and fund management. And in my days at Deloitte, we had more partners in Luxembourg focused on Islamic finance than any other jurisdiction in the world. If you look in the Middle East, particular success stories for implementation have come in the Oman in recent years. Why? Because there's been focus. There's been focus on education, and there's been focus on metrics. These are the numbers you need to produce month by month. And they took a leaf out of the Malaysian book. I remember running a bank in 2005 in Malaysia. We had monthly targets set by the central bank. If we failed to meet them, we were fined. That really focused the mind on meeting aggressive targets. So the focus and the education are key. And if I can just recap, because I'm sure my time is up, I've given you 3 acronyms. One is relevance, trust, and impact. The second is EPL, education, perception, and liquidity. And in terms of understanding strategies, you need to understand the STARS framework: Sharia and legal, tax, accounting, regulatory, and standards framework. And I'll leave at that and pass back to the moderator. Assalamu alaikum.
Great. Such a great speech in a very, very short time. Thank you very much, Daud. And to make sure that our audience understand what you just explained, I will give them quiz. Okay. Yang bisa jawab quiz, anyone who can answer this quiz will get gocap and also door prize from Maybank Shariah. Okay. Pak Daud tadi explain to us bahwa kita nggak bisa ambil begitu aja apa kesuksesan di Malaysia dibawa ke Indonesia. Satu hal yang tadi disebut oleh Pak Daud adalah di Malaysia mereka mengikuti common law system yang dianut oleh Inggris. Sedangkan di Indonesia kita mengikuti titik. Multiple choice. A. Civil law dari Belanda. B. Sicilia dari Itali. Atau B. Jawabnya di chat ya. Jawab yang chat. Yang bisa jawab dengan tepat akan dapat gocap plus door prize. Ulangin pertanyaannya ya. Pak Daud tadi mengatakan Malaysia lebih mudah, lebih fleksibel karena mengikuti common law yang diambil dari Inggris. Indonesia mengikuti A. Pilihannya civil law dari Belanda, B. Sicilia dari Italia. A atau B. Oke, jawab. Ntar yang bisa jawab dengan tepat dapat gocap and door prize. So thank you very much, Daud. Now let's move on to Joann.
Assalamualaikum, everyone. So we having worked in the Silicon Valley for 17 years before coming to Malaysia six years ago. I was exposed to the Silicon Valley bust of 2000 and the subprime crisis of 2010. Both of the problems that occurred that time caused a lot of disruptions, basically causing families to lose their homes, head of the families losing their jobs and the ability to provide for their family. The first problem was because of greed and overestimation of demand. The second is overestimation of the price of the houses and overestimation of the capacity of buyers to buy. All of that ingrained in that problem. When most of the companies operate for profit, basically, as a Sharia company, we are driven to a higher standard, meaning we are accountable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Apart from being a Sharia company, if you're a Sharia fintech dealing with money, then you have the regulations of riba that is basically following you. For our purposes, the Islamic digital economy, which is enhanced by digitization, basically provides an alternative institutions to riba, where trade, business, lending institution, and the voluntary institutions of Waqf and the compulsory institutes of Zakah can all work together to basically finance agriculture, infrastructure, the industrial sector, and the service sector. Basically, this is a halal income that is generated from either rent, wages and salaries, profits and dividends that are justified because you either take risk or you work hard for it. With this system is the redistribution of the wealth that basically allows us to circulate the good. Overall, this is the Islamic digital economy that we hope digitization will be able to facilitate. We sit right in this, next slide please. We sit right in this center. Investment account platform provides an alternative to various riba institutions and okay, so that's the investment together with other investment firms that are providing alternative to riba. So what is investment account platform? Basically, in 2013, the Islamic Financial Services Law Act was passed in Malaysia, making Islamic finance basically a pillar of law. Our central bank basically invited several banks to come together to form a consortium and basically create a technology platform where people who need financing can come together and apply, and those that have funds can come together and invest. So basically, your investors, your retail, your institution investors, and now your GLICs can come together and basically support various initiatives within the economy. And with the disruption of COVID, we find that this type of collaboration is necessary because the government can only go so far. all of the institutions in the economy have to come together, hold hands, and even to the private and the retail institutions come together to support a common cause. So our platform provides now and is testing a model where multilateral companies and those that we have MOUs with, such as ICT or ISDB, that's the Islamic Development Bank, can infuse their funds into a security agent. And this triangle is practically the IAP model, where the investors will come together to fund a specific initiative. This basically allows for our efforts to come a very long way, because being silo as a investor, being silo as a government, being silo as a corporation doesn't have the magnified effect if everyone can come together to support a common cause. And I think our COVID pandemic has highlighted that, and there will be more to come, where there are things that will come that we are not prepared for. And the only way to be able to come up with solutions is to basically collaborate. The government cannot pay for all of our needs. Neither can private institutions meet the needs of others. So all of it come together in that full cycle, similar to the Islamic digital economy, to be able to utilize and tap that resource to make it go a long way. As our previous speaker has said, my CEO from INSIF, this is not only for the Muslims. This is a system where during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, everyone benefited from. It is not exclusively ours. But this model can be copied and duplicated around the world, where everyone collaborates to be able to battle a very big problems like the COVID-19.
Great. It's you just pinpoint your message. Thank you very much. Now we come to our third speakers.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity. I think I'll speak in English, as the other panelists are also speaking the same language. Probably second session would be more in Bahasa. I like the title of this webinar today, which is from niche to mainstream. I did not suggest the title. I think the team suggested the title, and I like it because it's very relevant to the situation at hand with the Sharia banking, so to speak, and the situation that it faces today, and in fact for the last maybe 1 or 2 decades, where it has struggled, at least in the context of Indonesia, it has struggled to come out of what we here in Indonesia call the small banking trap. Sharia banking has been in existence for quite a few decades in Indonesia, and despite the fact that the majority of the population in the country is Muslim, the Sharia financing did not become a mainstream kind of financing, and also did not become the main tools for transactions for the society. And I think that's a situation that is I don't know if I can call it a regrettable situation to be in, but that's the reality, and I think that's the reality that a lot of stakeholders in Sharia banking is trying to reverse. And but that initiative has started, I must say, more intensively in the last 10 years, and I'm happy to see that we have moved, even like some 5-6 years ago, from about 5% to now about 8% of the industry as a market share, and the aim that the government is setting to for the Sharia banking to be somewhat in the range of 20% of the overall industry, by 2023, 2024. That's quite an aggressive target, considering where we have been in the last, probably a couple of decades. I'd like to share a bit of my personal experience. I first came to be exposed to sharia financing almost like 20 years ago, when I was a country head for Barclays, Indonesia. And I got a call one night in the middle of the night, because it's a call from New York, from my big boss in New York, Grant Kovalheim. He himself is a Jewish. And he called me and actually asked me, if I would like to add to take on a more responsibility as a head of country, to do Islamic financing, to head up Islamic financing for Asia. And he shocked me a bit on that, because I knew very little, if not zero, of Islamic financing at that time. But I don't think he called to consult me. I think he called to instruct me to do it. So I said, okay, Islamic financing. Okay, I'll look at it and come back to you. And but he said, no, you go do it. So and you'll be running it for the region. So that's how it started. And he hung up, and I immediately there was not enough Google back then, so I went to the bookstore and started looking for Islamic books, Islamic financing books. Started to learn, and as Daud was saying earlier, it's not an easy start, because the terms that are being used in Sharia financing is at best very confusing and very intimidating for anyone who's not been exposed to Islamic financing, let alone being Muslim. So so that's how it started, and I was immediately, I find myself immediately busy traveling between Jakarta, KL, where I was. It was my second base, and then Dubai, just basically trying to facilitate the structure for the organization. And my first trip to Dubai actually was quite an eye-opening experience, because I started the job first out of KL, where the development of Sharia financing just started. Actually, at that time, when Prime Minister then Tun Mahathir just set out to set Malaysia as the Islamic center for Asia at that time, and the creations of LOFSA at that time as Labuan offshore entities to basically facilitate the development of Sharia banking in Malaysia. And I learned a lot from colleagues, friends at Bank Islam at that time, and other institutions, and we started doing transactions at that time, and those transactions I brought to Dubai, the Middle East, to basically meet with investors, meet with other banks there, to basically syndicate the transactions, and it was not quite a pleasant experience for me at the beginning, because I met a few Sharia scholars there and Sharia councils of some of the big institutions there, only to be scolded by them, saying that do not flirt with God. That's the first statement that they say to me, because the structure that I brought to Dubai at that time was I guess Malaysia at that time was a bit of a different approach compared to the approach that they are accustomed to in the Middle East, at least at that time, where even instruments such as sukuk was not something that they were easily acceptable. So. That's a bit of an eye-opening, and doing all these, was not well received, and we got to. So, and it was that's my first exposure, and then I didn't get to do it again until I came to Maybank in 2013, and I looked at the overall business that we were doing at that time, and looked at the our Sharia business was quite a small outfit, almost negligible at that time. And one of the things that that I did in 2014 to basically jumpstart the whole bank, including the Sharia outfit, was to declare a Sharia first strategy. And I needed to do that because unless we declared it, we proclaim it as Sharia first, I think people are not going to take it very seriously. And one of the things that that we also did was exactly what Daud was saying earlier. I went on a town hall and declared to everyone in the bank that I want you to know and be assured that you do not have to convert a Muslim and go to the mosque today to start, selling this Sharia structure. And that's quite that has taken people at the time quite as a shock, because and then I said to everyone that we need to make sure that this Sharia structure, Sharia solution, be the first structure, the primary structure that primary solutions that we want to bring forward to our customers, and where we think they're relevant, where we think they're providing solutions and useful to the customers, we want that to be the first. I guess learning from that, I just like to share a few key things that that we learn, and I think would be key in turning the so-called niche solution to a more mainstream solutions. One, I think alignment of interests is very key. That interests of various stakeholders, starting from stakeholders within Maybank itself, and also stakeholders out there, be that regulators and other stakeholders, be aligned. And what that translated to in the context of Maybank Indonesia was that we converted the Islamic outfit, or the Sharia outfit back then, from sales management into a product outfit, a product solutions that everyone in the bank has to sell, and it's in the KPIs of everyone. So, and I think that was a big breakthrough that we did, and that's what has taken Maybank Indonesia Sharia business to a record growth in the last 5-6 years. We went from almost zero outfit to now 20% of the bank. Not just 20% in terms of assets and lending, but also 20% of the profit that we make, and that's quite an achievement. I think we're not seeing that in any other parts in the industry, that level of achievement, and that's all due to, again, the alignment of interest that we did. The other thing is placing Sharia as solutions as opposed to segment. And by doing that, we basically breaking down, the barrier between businesses, between lines of businesses, that this is a solution for everyone, and we want you to prioritize this, over the conventional solutions whenever it's a solution and it's useful for the customers. We're not trying to say that we must force this, but whenever it's relevant. And it's seen as solutions, we want this to be prioritized. And that is, again, contributing greatly to the growth of our Sharia business. So again, alignment of interests, putting Sharia as solutions and putting Sharia product being first, if it's relevant and useful to the customers, have actually contributed to the achievement that Maybank Indonesia has seen in the last 5-6 years to where it is. And I think it's also our aim, our objective, that the successful experience that we had in Maybank Indonesia can be shared with the industry and be shared with the regulators, stakeholders, for the benefit of the overall industries, and hopefully can be replicated and can be copied to the rest of the industry. I guess that would be my reaction to this. Thank you.
Congratulations for your achievements. 20% is something, especially in Indonesia. 20% is something. Daud, you know what book that been bought by Pak Taswin at that time? It was your book, Daud. A simple book, easy to understand, yet everything's there. So congratulations for both of you. So Daud, Joann, and Pak Taswin, due to the time limitation, we cannot have a Q&A session, and we changed that Q&A session with closing remarks from three of you. So be concise. First of all, Daud, please give your closing remarks.
I'll keep it very, very, very simple. There's a great deal of work to do, and there's a great deal of urgency about doing that work because the opportunity is now. I think the fundamental thing we need to focus on is just education. It's about financial literacy, and it's aligning the values that we have had in the Maqasid al-Sharia for so many hundreds of years. They are entirely consistent with the Sustainable Development Goals, and therefore there should be no issue in explaining the relevance of Islamic finance to the whole world. And it's a great opportunity for us to effectively get into the mainstream because our values are the mainstream. I'll leave it there. Assalamu alaikum and many thanks.
Well, I really like the last sentence. Thank you, Daud. I will quote that sentence. Great, great. Now, Joann, your time.
2 bachelors, 2 masters, and 1 PhD, and being immersed in Islamic finance practice for quite a while. If someone were to ask me what is Islamic finance, it's just basically fair dealings. We do not have to be too complicated in structure or how we can justify this and justify that. We have guidelines that are about 1,441 years old in terms of how to do things. But fundamentally, it is all in just fair dealings. That whatever transactions we're going to do, everyone benefits. There's nothing very rocket science about that.
Thank you very much, Joann. And now, Pak Taswin, your time.
I think just want to say towards, I think we hope that more and more transactions, more and more activities in the economy can be based on Sharia principles. It's all about converting. We see the economy as one, not two, where conventional economy or Sharia economy, no, just one. And it's all about converting whatever is there out there in the market, in the society, and converting that into a more and more Sharia-based economy. And the other thing is, again, the aim, the drive, the goal for sustainability, as has been talked about, discussed at many levels, at many forums with regard to sustainability going forward. I think it is very relevant today, as Daud pointed out earlier, that Islamic financing is ethical and in compliance with all the ESG, economic, social, governance elements of sustainability financing that everyone is embracing today, and Islamic structure comes in handy. when it comes to that. And I like to think that, I like to thank Daud for pointing that out earlier, that we are on the right track, and we are in the right stream, and that mainstream. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much to all of you. It's been very inspiring session for us. Thank you for keep inspiring us. Hopefully next time we'll invite you again to talk more about Islamic finance in Indonesia, and more broadly Islamic finance in the whole world. So once again, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.